There was a new Bellular clip that popped up on my recommended today, and a few of you have been talking about it. The title of it is Streaming 14 Ruining the Experience, Wild's Learning and Why Wildstar Died. I'm interested about the Wildstar part, but the streaming thing. So, I streamed the entirety of my MSQ journey on Twitch. And I met a lot of people along the way. And I personally thought it was amazing to stream my journey, but I'm a smaller streamer. I am not someone who has to deal with 40,000 people either in-game dancing naked around me and doing other things, because at most I had like 120 people watching when I fought certain bosses in the MSQ. And the things we did, we had dance parties before the DMCA stuff happened. But overall, going through the MSQ and being able to immerse myself in the experience and also having people with me, it was how I like to stylize my streams, where it's basically all of us sitting on a gaming couch together and experiencing something together. So I think streaming is great. But with what you guys may have mentioned, with whatever he says in this video, may change my perspective a little bit or add something to that. So let's watch this and see what he says.
Hi, that's it. We're nearly there for last week's supers. Then we can get into the news.
Nice one.
We've got Shafe, who said, quit WoW roughly a month ago. So done with the game. FF seems quite good. Seeing you talk about it all the time, maybe I'll look into it. That's been the experience of many people, including Asmongold. I think we will cover that soon. Yes. Because I think that streaming A Realm Reborn is an exercise in self-flagellation. I think that it will make for a probably not very entertaining stream. And I think it'll be a shit show.
It's a different type of stream.
It would be different if it was Shadowbringers. But A Realm Reborn, just to me, that is not streaming content.
Yeah, it's weird. It's I feel like
I think it's one of the more boring segments, but saying it's not good streaming content is not true. It's a different type of content, and like he may not understand the 14th section because I've been streaming in it longer, and he streams on YouTube, I believe. Like that's where like he does YouTube stuff, right? Because they talk about super chats. He doesn't really understand what the Twitch viewer base is like. With people love to watch MSQ. People love to watch new players, and people love to watch in the 14 community, help them along, especially if they have questions. I thought the experience was great. It may not be the best stream content. It's but it's enjoyable.
Streaming FF to people who streaming FF to a non-FF community is a terrible idea in general.
Okay, that's probably true. Yep, that's a good point. All right, Matt.
All those people who played.
All right, Matt. Good point.
Who played eventually by watching you. So it's a thing where you should never ever do any MSQ at all on stream, and only do actual like end game activities, because the idea of someone wanting to play FF, tuning into a stream, and then having some of the major plot points of like Heavensward spoiled, or some of the major events, that would actually really hurt the experience overall. So it's weird. It's that kind of thing where really narrative-driven single-player games shouldn't be streamed, and FF for the MSQ falls under that to me.
Yeah, I agree entirely, and I think some of that is just such a problem with, you know, working in games in various different capacities. If that is the thing of a streamer, I mean, imagine
when I played, when I first started playing 14, I had been playing a ton of like I played The Walking Dead, and like I gained a small viewership. Yeah, Rixie says I couldn't tell what was happening anyway. So I think that's like, obviously it's if you're a grand bigger streamer. You bring in like your community of like 10,000 people, and all 10,000 of those people have not seen the MSQ. But that in the reality, that's not true. There's plenty of people in Asmon's chat that play 14. Most people watch Asmon for Asmon. They don't watch it because he plays World of Warcraft. I'm sure there's some people like that, but the greater amount of it, like people watch Asmon clips because of Asmongold. When you're that large, it's not. And obviously, there's going to be people who do not. Have not played 14 or gone through the MSQ. And I think you should guard the story for them. But saying this right now, plenty of people have watched different points of my stuff. And I always said if they were like in different parts of the MSQ, since I do like roulettes every day and I do general content instead of like, since I'm already done with MSQ and everything, I've always said hey, we're doing this later. If you haven't done it, then, you know, this stream's going to be whatever, or I mark it in my title. And now if you're a grander streamer, like 100K viewers, 40K viewers, whatever, and you bring a lot of people in there, you should just be upfront about it. Like, hey, if you're thinking about playing this, don't spoil your like MSQ experience by doing this. I think that's all you really have to do. But people can decide on their own. I don't think it should be on you as a streamer. I don't know. It's interesting to think about.
Being a full-time streamer but loving narrative games. Yeah. God damn, that would suck. Because your actual gaming tank will be out of fuel by the time you finished your stream with your stream-friendly game.
Yeah, Bob makes a good point too. Chat helps you along the way
because you'll be so burnt out from the rest of it. Yeah. There was final 2 catch-up questions. Both from David Granger, who says, "Hey guys, Diablo 4 manages to create an amazing MMO world experience."
That's my general take on the story stuff, though. I don't know if they go further into it.
Warcraft 4 MMO introduce us to the 5 years before World of Warcraft started or existed.
Yeah, a lot of people who watch streams don't even play games. I had plenty of viewers who did not play 14, have never played 14, will not play 14. They play like Candy Crush on their phone.
Stuff like that.
They just chill because they like have fun in the community.
Game with your friends. Yes.
I don't really like that take, but I understand protecting the story. I get that. And I'm always very defensive, like, hey, if you want to experience this in your own way or however you want to. But it's up to them.
Yeah, you're like, well, how does that make sense? But, you know,
it doesn't make sense, but the way that you play it is with those people in your Discord server in a group, and you're going through some sort of large world, which you know, is kind of what MMOs did years ago, and we didn't have as many of those games.
Or people wanting to spoil. Here's the thing. I streamed the entirety of the MSQ. This section is so good that even though sometimes, depending on like certain plot points, I got up to 100, 120, 140 viewers, whatever, we set in stone how spoilers worked with a smiley face, and we only had like 2 flubs the entirety of the MSQ, and that's from A Realm Reborn all the way through Shadowbringers. Now, if Asmon does it with his amount of viewership, that might be different. Because more viewers means more chance of assholes. But the general viewership of the 14 section is very protective of the MSQ, and they all do it together.
We have moved the goalposts on MMO so hard, Terraria is now an MMO.
So you know what Asmon should do? Just make it emote only.
Yeah, it's weird. Like, it's like I sort of I don't fully agree with the phrasing of the question, but I get what he's going for. Now, as for a Warcraft 4, Warcraft 4 will not happen, in my view, as a real-time strategy game.
Yeah.
Sub mode and go hard on bans. That's another alternative.
Some sort of like character action game.
Also, if somebody ruins the story, you don't want them in your community anyway, because that's just some fucked up shit.
I don't see it happening.
People don't spoil things if they're a good person. Obviously, accidents happen, but if somebody spoils something, they're just doing it to be an asshole.
Warcraft 4 RTS happens, that kind of sets up the next expansion. I don't think that'll happen.
New, thank you for the follow.
There, because I believe we had a small F, but there's nothing on OBS's end here, so no drop frames, no
the
things.
Fs don't seem to be continuing.
Yeah, I remember they're behind us now, but.
Then David Granger also said, love me some WoW and Final Fantasy. I think Blizzard should look at why WildStar failed and compare retail WoW to that formula and adapt.
Yes.
You know what's interesting? I don't really know exactly what the crossover is. In my head,
I think WildStar failed, and somebody mentioned this before. MMOs are usually built on the casual player base, even though like balancing and stuff usually goes to the hardcore like players a lot of the time. But casuals make up most of the population, correct? The issue with WildStar is even though like the content was good, I personally didn't like the aesthetic, but like the content was good and the raids were good, that it was just way too hard for most people. And that really pushed people away, I think. I think that was one of the big issues at the time, is that if you were casual, you were kind of fucked in the ass. But that's what they made the game about. You know, they made it specifically very, very difficult. So I think WildStar was a good experience, but obviously if you cater to one crowd too much, then the game may fail. That's just kind of where I'm at.
WildStar is...
Once you start hitting a couple hundred viewers, the backseating for 14 streams gets unbearable if they backseat. Well, so here's the thing, and this is, we're starting to get into talking about not necessarily like streaming 14, but streaming anything in general. It depends on what you as a streamer want for your community, and if you are okay with cutting off viewers just to get, like, there's one thing. You may want views, okay? It depends on what type of streamer you want to be. But I've always been of the mindset, and I've watched other streamers grow and hate their chats because they did not moderate correctly. If somebody is backseating and I tell them to stop and they keep doing it, then they just like get a timeout or something, or they're going to get banned. It's like you control your community as a streamer. Obviously, after you get to a certain size and people just keep coming in, then it gets more and more difficult to moderate it. But you build your community as you're growing. Our community is very, very good. I rarely have issues with chat. You know, and I have anywhere from 50 to 80 viewers. And there's tons of new people every day. Sometimes I have 20 viewers. It depends. You know, it bounces around. You know, live streams are crazy. But still, I'm very proud of my chat. Now, obviously, as you get more people, it gets more difficult. But the power is in your hands as a streamer most of the time to moderate. And this was a thing talked about like 2 to 3 years ago with Devin Nash and a bunch of other people. Like, you control your chats. I think Trihex talked about it at sometimes too, at one point too. It just is what it is. And yeah, match. I understand that too. Some games require a lot of playtime, also.
Like, it felt that, you know, they really hammed up Saturday morning
for Pyromancer. So well, Pyromancer is a WoW player, right? So he does WoW lore videos. So the people who watch him are probably WoW players, or they play different games. But how has he instructed his chat in the past about spoilers? Every time I play a new game, even if it's not 14, if you spoil, you're going to get banned. Unless I know you for a long time. Like, if you're new and you spoil, you get banned, because I'm just taking that as like a slap in the face. If you're an old viewer and you do it on accident, then we just kind of like, hey, don't do that. That's just how it is. You just have to control your chats. Like, if he's played different games on stream and he hasn't really cared about spoilers or backseating, then he's molded that action in his chat already. Now we're just getting into talking about streaming and streaming dynamics. Like, a lot of people don't think about these things when they start growing either. But like, if you have strong building blocks, then it carries forward. And then, like, your community knows what to expect. And then, like, the community also, like, I don't even really have to do things because my community will be like, hey, man, don't do that. Like, if there's, like, a spoiler. You know? And then also you have mods. And you only give mod to people you trust that really understand what you're, like, how you deal with things.
To me, I was just like, oh, cool, I really take this world that seriously, actually.
Yeah, same.
I could never take the world of it seriously, which meant I could never take the fantasy of it that seriously. It just didn't do a good enough job of making me care about where I was. So I think WoW's version of that is, don't make the lore and the setting so alien.
They smile the spoilers array. Exactly, and that's what my chat did too during Shadowbringers. But we rarely had spoilers.
Home to me.
Yeah.
Because I
really only think we had 2 to 5.
Sci-fi stuff I do like.
I said 2 earlier, but I think 2 to 5 would be more generous.
So for me, it was nothing to do.
And that's
with
over 5 months of MSQ.
Trying to be it was nothing of
because I took breaks to savor the experience.
Didn't mesh for me.
Yeah. Whereas I guess, like, funny you say.
And it's because
like, they could be
the 14 section is that good about it, and also I built my chat towards that.
I feel it less with Shadowlands. I felt it perfectly fine every other time we went anywhere. No, we should be okay.
Oh no,
we should be okay. Yeah, I mean,
saved. We good?
I think you.
I think it was just a lag spike.
Yeah, there's a lag spike. Everything's fine.
Sweet.
Everything's fine now. But what's it saying? Yeah, home. I think World of Warcraft could have felt like a home until Shadowlands, because it's. I guess like the narrative framing of it being a different plane, being.
I don't think it felt like a home really cool, before Shadowlands. I'll say that right now.
It doesn't feel like it's a real place to me.
Yeah.
I think WoW felt like a home, like in the trilogy. Because if you think about it, BFA, everybody's always in Borealis, or you're in multiple areas, right? But like the old world really doesn't see a lot of action. as you move forward in expansions. Shadowlands is even worse because you're on a different complete plane. I get that. But I haven't really felt attached to the world since Wrath, I feel like. Cataclysm redesigned all the old stuff, so you lost a lot of old things besides the stuff they kept and they redesigned. So that changed like the entire feel of like your old home because you know, the Cataclysm happened, blah blah blah. And then Mist, I thought Mist felt good, but it's not necessarily a home thing. But Mist, as you went forward, Mist was the only time you were like a new adventurer in a new land where the people there didn't give a shit about you or call you champion. The Pandaren were their own. And a lot of people memed on Pandaria, but Pandaria was very good. There was obviously some bad narrative in Mist of Pandaria, but overall, that's more of what I should have expected. Because, you know, the Pandaren were just like, who the fuck are the Horde of the Alliance? We don't care about you. You're bringing war to our shores. Like, that was the right dynamic to have. And in a lot of cases, that's not how it goes forward in a lot of things. Because you still get the champion thrown around all the time. I see new players try 14 from, and one of the biggest frustrations I see is that they try to rush through and don't bother to learn the menu systems. Kind of wish people slowed down a bit more. I'm guilty of that. I'm guilty of that too.
And like, FF's the same, where FF, everywhere I go, I feel like, this is a part of this.
Big easy
world.
thing for the
I feel at
fall.
home in all of these cities, and then when I find a new place, I'm like, oh, it's, you know.
By the way, that's
like,
a rare
like
that normally
going
doesn't
to a
hit that
town
much.
that you've never been before down the road.
Yeah.
It's still part of your, like, the world you inhabit, but it's just a new part.
Crazy RNG, I know.
Where Shadowlands feels a little bit like a fever dream in a sense.
Yeah, I think going with non-contiguous zones was a bit of a mistake. And Shadowlands, it's like we're going to the afterlife. To a lot of people, that just feels like we've jumped the shark.
Yeah.
So they're not going to feel... They're just not going to feel as at home in that world.
Yeah, I
It's
agree
like,
with that,
know,
but I think
like
WoW
we
hasn't
talked
felt
about
like a home
Lord of the
for a
Rings earlier,
while.
It's like, I don't know exactly the afterlife in Lord of the Rings. I know that there is one that's different between the elves and the men and stuff, but whatever. But it's like, if you told me, oh, we're going to go to the afterlife of Middle Earth, my reaction would be, please no. Please no.
Yeah.
I really don't want that.
Yeah. I 100%
if
agree.
I go and meet Eru,
and for a lot of people, since like Half mentioned this, like feeling at home in an MMO, and like old MMOs used to be far more social. Nowadays, depending on what MMO you play, it may not be as social. 14 is incredibly social, and that's really why I respect the hell out of it. There's a lot of reasons, but old MMOs used to have a certain feel of the game, and like it was a replace your life, a second life, if you will, simulator. You know, you would play the MMO and become one with it, and it's something to look forward to every day while you go through the drudgery of your own real life. Nowadays, like WoW retail, for example, despite going to the Shadowlands and not feeling like a home, you basically just do in-game stuff. And there's obviously collections, but like the sheer amount of casual content that you can do for fun is way higher in 14. There's just so much more you can do. So I think the casual players, if they're just like that play WoW, if they could get over the aesthetic issues, or like they could get up, I bet a lot of them play for their friends, because I know for a fact I won't want to play 9.1, but say 20 of us are like, hey man, let's go do the raid, I'm gonna be like very tempted. And then the other part of me is gonna be like, I want to know like how the raid is, so I can talk about it.
with God, and through that void gate is the ultimate enemy of the universe. Sharks shouldn't be jumped.
Yeah, but bit different feeling than
it didn't show up. You should try again.
Yeah. I think that's, and like I have heard from a lot of people with Shadowlands that it's just that bit. And it's the thing we've long thought about Shadowlands, which is it's way more cool to Blizzard than it is to us. And that's because Blizzard are exploring their own lore. They're having fun doing that. But I think they're not entirely thinking about the player experience. And I think that's because they're so used to being World of Warcraft, being on top, and basically always getting a win.
Yeah.
And that's that. I mean, in their head, they got away with a time travel expansion. So surely they can get away with anything.
That's a good point. I actually don't think WoW has been like top for a while, but in a lot of ways, like I didn't play other MMOs, so I can't really talk. I stopped playing other MMOs seriously because, like, I started playing League of Legends, like, during, like, I started since Season 1, and then also, like, when Legion was out, I just played League, and I played Legion. That's literally all I did. And now I don't play League anymore, so I have, like, more downtime. And all the other MMOs around WoW have been improving themselves. And now we're just coming to a head. That's basically what it is. WoW has just stopped innovating, even though they try and innovate every expansion. But their problem is they do not focus on the systems they have, and they throw away new systems all the time. And all that development time is just wasted. Imagine if all that development time went to furthering or refining the game in other ways. Finding a way to deal with their rotting content, where only content is basically end game and all the other content just sits there unused, compared to where 14 reuses a ton of their content to do things. It could be a lot better. It really could. And that's why we talk about this, is that a lot of WoW players that have played it for a long time are just upset with the general navigation of the ship of Blizzard going forward, while other games are surpassing it in their system designs generally. When the company is top or king of the hill, they stop progressing. Same for Intel. They've been slacking until AMD now took over. That's a very good point. People get they get stuck in their ways, and they don't seek to keep furthering their ambition or evolving. And, you know, I'm guilty of that in real life with my own life. And, you know, I'm sure a lot of people are guilty of that, too. It's just how it is. But,
Time travel. Sure, we can go to the afterlife.
It is what it is.
Players.
Sad to see.
It's like the pandas. They still got Warcraft in there. The time travel. The whole point of Warlords of Draenor. Remember all the memes of it being savage?
Yeah.
It was just it doubled down in Warcraft as a metal album cover. That's why people, you know, mashed with the fantasy, even though it was, you know, hopping in the DeLorean, and I mean, not literally mechanically, but you get what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, they put a Gorehal in the middle of a taxi, like.
Oh yeah,
that was metal. Like,
yeah,
that feels like something Chris Metzen had dreamt about as a kid.
That Azeroth choppers
finally got the dude. It's like, fucking yeah, let's go. But
oh man, so
caught up in supers.
We've caught up in supers.
Yeah. I want to point this out. Are you going to buy a Fantasia from the Mog Station to get you Dragon Daddy? I switched to a male raw. I'm a fem raw right now. Look at my booba.
Probably
we
address.
Do have a lot of supers.
That's
from
super.
A very, very generous audience.
Gosh. All right. There was a lot of things I didn't
Did I miss Big Hero Kami?
Wait, thank you for the follow. You scared me. But there was a lot from this video that I didn't think about concerning the streaming thing. And I think the issue is that we got into like a streaming discussion in general. I think one of the big issues is when you start to stream, if you just do it for fun, like I do it for fun, obviously, but like if you just do it for fun and you don't like look into anything, and it's like, oh yeah, Twitch is a website, you know, I like to play games, I'll stream, and then you luckily get big somehow because you're just naturally entertaining or something, then you probably haven't looked at anything like who are the big streamers, what's going on, how should I craft my chat. There's like so many things you don't think about, and you just do it on the fly, and it's like I'm learning as I go. And there's in a lot of cases I learn as I go too, but I've been on Twitch for a long time just watching, so I have a little bit more of an understanding when it comes to like, this is what I want my chat to be, and as I grow, I want it to stay this way, and I will try my damnedest to have it stay that way. And this is what I want my content to be, and this is how I always want to be welcoming. I want it to be like a couch, everybody's sitting on the couch, and we're just having a good time. But a lot of people don't prep with that, and they just get big, right? It just is what it is. And I didn't think about that. So there's a lot of multiple moving parts to this streaming 14 discussion. I was blessed with a good experience, but I'm also a smaller streamer. So hopefully Asmon doesn't have a bad experience streaming it. I really hope he enjoys the game and chat doesn't detract from that. But yeah, it's a good video. Hey guys, if you're here, I also stream MMO and variety content on twitch.tv BigHero60. Have a good day.